Now you can
Because Mr. Pond did a great job. No, I mean, you just want me to explain what you said in English, or?
no English. Oh, you don't stick to your. You can
Because you
erase.
did it perfectly.
No, you can erase and then go with your own numbers.
Okay. I mean, all right.
And then doing the different numbers with them.
Yeah. Okay.
Because
okay.
I was like kind of throwing any type of numbers on the board, so kind of confuse them more. But just go in English and then just finalize it with them.
So like, right? Again, I guess in English, I will just reiterate what Mr. Paulin was talking about in terms of the order of operations. Right? We first started these videos talking about real numbers, all the kinds of numbers out there, the numbers in algebra that we'll be dealing with. We called all these numbers real numbers. And then earlier in this video, we talked about the things that, right, that we can, how we operate with these numbers, right? The algebraic operations, right? We talked about, oh, well, we could, if we're adding or multiplying, the order doesn't really matter. And also, if we group them while we're adding or multiplying, right? If we group them in different ways, that shouldn't change the outcome. And then we talked about distributive. As you can see, we built on like parentheses, right? And the instances of parentheses. So that's why, again, Mr. Paulin said it perfectly. You should always start with the parentheses, right? Whatever's in the parentheses. The same way we were going over the algebraic, properties, right? Associated was talking about, right? Oh, whatever's in the parentheses. Distributive, right? It's all about what goes in the parentheses. We have to make sure that whatever operations we're doing get applied to what's in the parentheses first. One Regents problem that I can sort of use to reiterate, right, that might be confusing to some students because we talk about parentheses, but sometimes you might see something like this. And why is this confusing? Because this whole time we were talking about do what's in the parentheses first, right? And then after you do what's in the parentheses, you do whatever has an exponent, right? An exponent, right? An example would be like 2 to the third, which just means you do 2 times 2 times 2. That little number is the exponent. And he's right. You multiply, divide, left to right, whichever comes first. And then after that, you add or subtract, right? Whichever comes first, left to right. But sometimes you see these things here. These are called brackets. And so when we talk about doing parentheses first,
including brackets,
that includes brackets. And that's why some kids might get this wrong. But you have to just treat the parentheses, treat the brackets, that's right? Basically, parentheses. Just treat it like a parentheses. Parentheses. Okay? And the same thing goes for, and you'll see this too because it's on the Regents. 5.
Absolute value.
These are the absolute value. These you also have to treat like I go just write like parentheses, like parentheses. So right, I couldn't do 7 plus 5 because maybe I'm like, oh, that's not a parenthesis, so I'll just do 7 plus 5 minus 7. No. This is called the absolute value. We'll go over this later.
Yeah, different topics.
Right? And again, this absolute value, we'll go over later. We'll have to. But also, it's something in middle school that you first... Right now, we're doing pre-algebra, algebra 1. So part of this is, hopefully, you guys have some, right? Have some interaction with some of this stuff already, okay? But this just treat this as a parentheses. This right here, 5 minus 7 will be negative 2. Absolute value just means how far from 0. Oh, negative 2 is 2 from 0.
And then absolute value always positive.
Yes, absolute value is always positive. But again, this might confuse people. You see it on a Regents exam. No. Just treat these, right, lines, right, absolute value lines, like a parentheses. The bracket, right, like a parentheses. So, to reiterate, right, another Regents example I have, right, it came from a Regents exam. It asks that you simplify. And that's also terminology that maybe might confuse students What do they mean by simplify? What do they want me to do? Right? Simplify, right? Typically they mean combine like terms. Right now, everything is a number.
There's no like term there.
Right?
So
each of these is a number on its own that you can combine. Right? Like say if there was an x in there, or sorry, x squared, or some letter, then you couldn't combine this 15 with that letter. That's why it's important. I want people to understand when they say simplify, they mean, yeah, put the things together, but don't just put everything together. You have to put the things that are like terms. If there's a variable, there's an a, put it with another a, right? If there's a b, put it with another b. But these are all numbers that can all be joined together. If they say simplify, find a way that you can put them together. What is that way that Mr. Paulin went over? Oh, the way to put this together is what? Order of operations. So we start with the parentheses. And you might think, oh, I'll just do the 2 plus 6. It is in a brackets, and a bracket is like a parentheses. No, you have to start to the innermost parentheses. So first I have to start here. Is there anything inside here that I need to do? No. So then now I open up from that inner parentheses, I go to the next parentheses like thing, the brackets. I go, oh, inside here, what do I have? I have 2 plus 6 times negative 3. What did Mr. Paulin say we had to do? Do we do the plus first? Oh, no, PEMDAS. We do the multiplication first. And there's no division, right? It's just addition and multiplication. We're going to do the multiplication first. 2. If you want, you can leave the plus negative 18. Right? And again, we could use the distributive property and put the negative 3. I wouldn't do that. All of these are numbers. We could just use order operations to simplify it. 2 plus negative 18, negative 36. Right? If I want, maybe that might confuse you, so I'll just leave the brackets, right? We already, right? We finished, we combined everything inside the bracket, and we got negative 36. Okay? We're done with what's inside here. So let's move out. What do we do first? The minus, or if it's right next to it, it's multiplication, right?
So what do we try? Is 2 plus or 2 multiply?
Oh, he's right.
It's not multiply.
He got me.
It does not multiply.
I made a mistake.
It's plus.
He's very right. 2 plus negative 18.
Yes.
16.
That's 16, yeah.
Very good catch. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Hopefully you guys saw that too. So now I have to do negative 3 times negative 16. Some people would do 3 times negative 16. That's fine too. I'll do that. Minus, what's 3 times negative 16? Well, 3 times positive 3 times would be negative, what is that? 8, 48. Right? 3 16 is 18. And what happens when you minus a negative? And then this is what Mr. Paul was talking about, sign numbers. But sign numbers, right, Mr. Paul?
Yeah,
that's
sign
something
numbers.
you
Yeah.
learn elementary, right?
Yeah, elementary, yeah. Because I used to teach from 6, 7, and 8 graders, yeah.
That's why. So I know this might look complicated. That means then you just need to really go back to your basic numbers and practice with that. Because at this level of math, algebra and pre-algebra, they assume that you understand.
Yeah, they understand, yeah.
That you understand
yes.
this. Okay? Yeah, exactly. We first talked about integers.
Yeah.
So then you need to understand, like, oh, when I minus a negative, it becomes a plus. And so the answer is 63. Okay?
That's right. And this is a real
Region
questions
problem.
in the region.
Yeah. But to me, what I wanted to go over is, I just wanted an example to reiterate what Mr. Paulin did, but I wanted to give you hard, like, region questions that really isn't about doing the math like this. Nowadays, from the most recent exams, they give you questions that make you, like, think. They don't, like, the multiple choice, because it's a time test. They just want to get you go through the problems. This might take a while, and so this is from a very old Regents, but a more modern Regents questions about order of operations, I'm going to put on the board.
Okay. And sometimes they even put like some vocabulary sentences
exactly.
that confuses you.
Exactly. And that's why I wanted to briefly go over simplify, because like sometimes, like here, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
The question says, what is first step in simplifying the expression?
So they don't ask you to solve it. They ask you to tell them which is the first step that you have to take.
And then look what they do. They give you something that looks just like this. And it says, right, we have two choices. Four choices.
Okay.
This to me is a very good problem because it literally is, it doesn't want you to do the calculations.
Yeah, they don't ask you to solve it. They want to know what will be your first step. Seeing this, a bunch of numbers and a parenthesis and then plus an exponent.
And they also, right, it's also, do you understand what simplifying means? What do they mean by, and then what is an expression? What does that even mean? Right? And again, an expression is just, right, you put a bunch of numbers and variables together. An equation would be if there's an equal sign. There's no equal sign, so it's an expression.
Not an equation, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's not an equation, it's an expression. And imagine PEMDAS. What does it say? Parentheses, exponent, multiplication, division, addition, then subtraction. Most people might say, oh, let's do the square 5. What do they mean by even square? The terminology, what does even square means? And hopefully that's testing that you understand that this exponent is another way to say that exponent is squaring. So it's already testing if you understand the terminology of squaring is an exponent. And then they put that answer in there because they know that a few students will be like, oh, well, exponent is like the very beginning. That's the first thing you would do. So the answer must be square 5.
Yeah.
Answer must, right? Because you're supposed to do exponents before you do multiplication or addition. All of these say addition, subtraction, multiplication. But like we just went over, is the exponent inside the parentheses? No.
Outside.
The exponent's outside. We have to do first everything inside the parentheses. So we already know it can't be square 5. The exponent's outside.
And while you're inside the parentheses, you still have to follow the order of operation.
Yeah, and then while you're still inside here, you have to, so some kids might be like, oh, well, then obviously I'll do 2 minus 3.
No.
Or subtract 3 from 2, because that's the first thing. I thought we were supposed to do from first, right, from the left to the right. Aren't you supposed to do the first thing? No. PEMDAS says what? Yeah, you're supposed to do the left to right, but within the parentheses, the innermost parentheses, you always have to follow exponent, multiplication, division, then addition or subtraction. So would I add or subtract before I multiply inside? No.
So the right answer is 4.
It's 4.
So you multiply 3 times 4.
Right? You multiply, right? Multiply before
Addition
add
or subtraction.
and subtract, right? Yeah, both. You're always going to multiply before that. So again, that's why me and Mr. Paulin, all right, Mr. Paulin and I are going over this because it's very, when you just see it and we explain it to you, we hope that after this you'll be like, oh, if I see this on a test, I'm not going to fool for these answer choices they give you, right? Because they do this on purpose. They really want to test that you understand what these concepts are. And it's not that complicated, right? You just have to follow, right, the order of operations. And you have to understand what the words mean. And that's why this was very important for Paul and I to go over this and talking it in Creole. What does it mean by simplifying? What is an expression? When they say square, what are they where's this? There's no square there. Yeah, the 2 there, that's another way of saying to the second power, to the power of 2, square. Well, the exponent's outside. I thought we're supposed to do what's inside the parentheses first. So then that's how already you know it can't be square 5. I'll do one more. Another one that's very similar, Mr. Paul. What do you think of this problem?
That was a nice one, yeah.
Nice problem. I'll do another
And then
one.
I know kids will be eager to solve it, but they don't ask you to solve.
Yeah, it doesn't ask you
They
to
ask
solve.
you to show which step you will be taking
And that's
first.
another point I'm glad that Mr. Paulin brought up. See, now, like modern day tests and assessments, they don't just want you to punch numbers and calculate things. They know you can do that. You can use a calculator and do that. They want to know that you mentally know like the rules, right? The rules of math, right? That you can logically follow a procedure. And that doesn't mean that you do the procedure. It means that you know the steps where anything you see, you know exactly what to do. And it just asks you, well, what's the first thing you would do? Right? That was a good part. Another one that's very similar is this one. I like this one too. Right? This is a legitimate regions problem. Right? And it, all right. Good?
Uh-huh.
So, right, another one. Again, this is the gauge order of operations. If the expression 3 minus 4 to the second power plus 6 over 2 is evaluated, what would be done last? Subtracting, squaring, adding, dividing. And again, to what Mr. Paulin's point was at the previous problem, they don't want us to actually do it. You know, even if you could do it, say if a kid can do it, it's not going to help them answer this question. Maybe it could. If they do it, out. But it might be time consuming, right? It's a time test. Maybe they want you to, like sometimes they put in questions to take up your time. But what do we know about PEMDAS? We have to do the parentheses first. Is there any parentheses? No. And then after parentheses it said what? Exponent, right? Well, will the exponent be done last? No. So that's what I said, even before you start doing the math out, you should at least look at it and think about it. And that's what they want you to do. And you'll see this faster. Well, if I know the exponent is not last, what's the exponent they have here? 2. And we said that this is the same thing as what? Squaring. You have to understand to the second power. So then I already know that can't be the answer choice. That's not something I would do last. I have to do the exponent before I do addition and subtraction. And even with that being said, then we already know if I know the order of operations, PEMDAS, I know it can't be dividing. Because I know the last thing is always going to be addition or subtraction. And now this is the tricky thing, in that maybe a kid would need to do the math out. But if you understand that this is the exponent, and also if you understand that this right here, division is happening, then we already know the square and the division would happen before addition and subtraction. Now between these two, which one would be the last thing to happen? Right? Because you go from left to right. Remember, we kept on reiterating left to right. So I wouldn't do the subtraction last. I had to do that first. 3 minus whatever, then plus whatever that was.
Yeah, very good.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Good job.
That's a good problem.
Now, yeah.